The economic numbers actually look very, very good right now. Dr. Matt Will is going to break it down for us, economist from the University of Indianapolis. And I mean, we're hitting the Iranians with missiles from space, not space lasers. Sorry, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Are they about to collapse, or is this going to be protracted? I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. The radio show is here. Let it all begin.
This morning, I chaired another COBRA meeting as we continue to coordinate our response to the situation in Iran and the Middle East. I know that people are worried sick about their family and friends who are caught up in this, about the impact on our lives and our economy, and about the potential for even greater escalation. I believe that yet again, we're seeing missiles and drones falling and civilians in the firing line across the region.
You can always depend on Keir Starmer to come across as a scared little boy. Tony Katz Today. Good to be with you. I don't mind that the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom has concerns. I mind that he is outrageously weak in his own nation and has the audacity to think he can be outrageously strong on the world stage. Until you do something about the Islamist threat and takeover of your own country, it's kind of hard to think that you're going to have a strong position on stopping Islamists in another country. As someone pointed out on social media, I'm only angry I didn't think of this first. They're like, look at all the Muslim and Arab nations supporting the United States and this hit on Iran and taking out the Ayatollah. Yeah, there's Kuwait and there's the Emirates and then there's Jordan. And then you take a look at the Muslim nations that don't support this, and it's England, France, and Spain. I wasn't kidding when I said I'm angry. I didn't think of that myself. That's a very, very, very good line right there. And it's true. So when Starmer speaks, the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, you have to wonder from what position he is coming from. Because this is a man who very obviously, first of all, he always looks scared. He always has a look on his face. And if you're watching the live stream, you see this look on his face right now. He always has this look on his face that someone is going to recognize that his diaper smells. It's this, I hope no one is paying too much attention. There's no strength, there's no vigor that comes from the man at all. But when you're unwilling to deal with the threat in your own backyard and you're scared of it, your speaking out about it on the world stage becomes, well, near impossible. Rather, though, you feel emboldened, if not threatened, into speaking negatively about the United States.
So I want to reassure the British public about the action that we're taking. While the region has been plunged into chaos, my focus is providing calm, level-headed leadership in the national interest. That means deploying our military and diplomatic strength to protect our people. And it means having the strength to stand firm by our values and our principles, no matter the pressure to do otherwise.
So what you're telling me, Keir Starmer, is Great Britain first. Okay, I can live with that. I think that's just fine for the Prime Minister to say. I think it's fine for other nations to say as well. The reporting on how the Ayatollah was taken out is that a ballistic missile that flew to the edge of space is what hit him and took out a dozen, if not dozens, of his people. It's called the Blue Sparrow. The Blue Sparrow has a Sparrow target missile. This goes back to 2013. And there are multiple missile versions of this, the black, the blue, and the silver, it can fly for 1,240 miles, leaves the atmosphere, used by Israel during Operation Epic Fury. Now, this is, we would almost consider this standard in missile capability as opposed to the hypersonics. It's always important just at this moment to understand the difference. The Blue Sparrow launches from a fighter jet out of the atmosphere down to the target. Hypersonics follow the curvature of the Earth. And what makes hypersonics so dangerous is certainly the speed in which they travel, but also detection. If you're not up in the atmosphere there, right? The detection is much more difficult for radar and other things when you're just following the curvature of the Earth if you're not getting up. So this is one of the reasons, for example, we want Greenland, because if Russia or China want to shoot hypersonics at the United States, you would be able to recognize what's happening and engage in defense, thus Greenland's importance. And of course, Greenland being part of what President Trump refers to as the Golden Dome, which is a fine idea. And it would also protect what? Europe, including the lowly Ireland and the lowly Spain. And they are lowly. Recognizing Palestine as a state, thinking that somehow the Ayatollah is worthy of your respect and somehow he should still be in power. These are despicable leaders and despicable nations. And it's a shame that I'm never going to get to Ireland. I'm never going to get to Spain. I mean, it stinks. Would I feel safe? No. Of course not. I would love to, but it doesn't seem to be the way things are going to go. We have been outrageously successful in the utilization of technology, and the Israelis have as well, so far in this fight. But it does lead us to wonder whether or not Iran is going to engage some level of quick collapse. I don't see that. I want that. Strikes against Iran from Israel continue. And Iran continues to hit Israel. I can't believe that anybody is surprised by this. Well, what do you think the Iranians are going to do? One of the things that's so important here is the recognition that we're in a war. Well, we don't have to call it a war. You want to call it a conflict? You want to call it an impasse? I don't know. Well, what is the other term you want to use? And the idea that the other side, the people we consider the enemy because they are the enemy, the people who need the regime that needs to be destroyed, it's to think that somehow they're not going to respond is always so weird. It's like when Trump takes on and goes after the Canadians, and the Canadians get angry. People are like, how dare you? What do you mean, how dare you? They're going to do what they do. You don't know that this is coming? Super weird. The Israelis know this is coming. There was an article about how those in the north, right near Lebanon, where Israel has been engaging attacks against Hezbollah, which is an Iranian proxy, right, funded by the Iranian regime. The idea that they have to take shelter in their bomb shelters in their safe rooms. Yeah, you're bombing Hezbollah and Hezbollah is bombing back. This is not surprising. And so I started with a little bit of this conversation yesterday, and it really came to a head when we saw this Marine protesting inside a Senate subcommittee hearing, screaming and yelling and refusing to leave. And I'm going to get into that because it really shows that the left does not understand how any of this works. The left is purposeful in their ignorance and in their childlike quest to think that they're making moves. But I want to be clear that the Iranians are not done. And the idea that somehow we're going to have imminent Iranian collapse of the regime, I haven't seen proof of yet. I want it. I won't be upset when it happens. But this is going to take some time because they do have missiles. They do have weapons. They were prepared. And they have plans for even if this one's dead, that one's dead, the other's dead. Now, those plans don't last for forever. And I do favor the methodology of taking out leadership every time new leadership gets announced, because what I favor, maybe different than other people, is I favor nothing left of the regime at all or in any way. No connection at all to the Ayatollah. President Trump is now making his statements that he must be personally involved in deciding who will lead Iran now that the Ayatollah Khomeini is dead. This was an interview that was put on or done by Axios, where he says he had an 8-minute phone call with Axios, his second conversation with the outfit to discuss his war planning. And he said that even though it might be the Ayatollah's son who's the most likely successor, he finds that outcome unacceptable. This is the first I have heard of President Trump discussing what comes next in a way that says to me he is not willing to allow the regime that currently exists to have any play in the future. This I'm very happy to see, because before the show started, before I saw this, as this is now just coming out, I would tell you that I absolutely oppose any ending to this conflict that leaves any bit of the regime in control. I also felt that way about Nicolas Maduro. Don't tell me how Delcy Rodriguez is doing a great job. Delcy Rodriguez and the rest of the Maduro regime, which is the Chavez regime, has to go. It's the only way the people of Venezuela have a better tomorrow. Tony, you really are into these regime changes. You're such a neocon. If we are going to do a thing, let us do the thing completely. And the removal of Maduro, and you can argue that this was really about the drug running and the criminal activity. This was about regime change in oil. I'm okay with the argument. I just want it discussed honestly. We can agree or disagree on that part, but this is whether or not we should do it. But what it is what it is. I'm saying I'm not bothered by it. Would you be upset with regime change in the United States? I think if an army wanted to invade the United States, we should slaughter every last one of those bastards until quite literally no part of their body exists. I feel that way about terrorist cells and a whole bunch of others. I'm not a queasy guy. Oh, sure, you're not a queasy guy, Tony. It's somebody else's kid going to war. It's always somebody else's kid going to war. And when that doesn't work, we have the Second Amendment. Can I help you? Can I stop the maddening people from being ridiculous little children? Can I ask them to grow up and be men and women who can handle a situation? Here we are. My serving or not serving doesn't change reality. Everyone needs to grow up. We took out Maduro. Finish the regime change. You want to control the oil? You got control of the oil. Finish the regime change. We took out the Ayatollah. He was a threat to the United States going back to 1979, the taking of hostages, when we should have slaughtered the bastards then. And we should have slaughtered the bastards after 1983. And I don't care if Tucker or Megyn Kelly or Dave Smith or any of that loser Jew-hating bigoted crowd is happy or not. And they are what they are. I don't know why they are the way they are, but they are the way they are. I'm not interested in this conversation of somehow thinking that this is all somehow new. This isn't new. Dear Lord, people, read a book. None of it's new. If we're going to take the moment to take out the Ayatollah, you have to take out the entire regime. Every last bit of it. And they cannot be allowed to have power. And this is not a Muslim country. It is not an Islamist country. It should not have an Islamist leadership. And while we are there protecting American interests and American lives that have been lost over the last decades and avenging that, which I'm also not necessarily opposed to, let's make sure that the right people are in charge. And no one associated with the Ayatollah or being an Islamist is the right people. How about that as a standard? It's not an Islamist nation. Let's make sure it's not going forward. I think I might be the last honest guy out there, but you're out there. So we're the last honest people out there. I don't want to pretend that somehow what's happening isn't happening. It is regime change. I'm okay with it. I'm saying the words because that's what it took to protect American lives and American interests. And all of those other nations are thrilled because they have interests they want protected too. People don't want to admit that Trump is engaged in a full recreation of the Middle East and of alliances and relationships. Well, they can be as upset about it and in denial about it as they want, not us. But Trump now saying that he wants to pick Iran's next leader or be involved, that has to mean, and it has to include, no one associated with the Khomeini or being an Islamist. I can get behind that. And I'm happy to discuss my position with you. We'll get deeper into it. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz Today. Good to be with you. Tyler, first of all, I never sound like Mark Levin. I have no idea how he gets that nasally. I don't know. I've tried to, Mark Levin. I can't do it. I can't do it. The Iran war is not Israel first, although Israel definitely benefits from it. It's a stupid argument. I just want you to know it's a stupid argument. It's not Israel first. Israel absolutely benefits from it. No question. They have wanted to make moves. They found in Trump that he recognizes the need for the moves to be made. He got played. It's just so stupid. It's just so dastardly stupid. But what's worse is that you're making the argument that the U.S. had no reason to take out the Ayatollah and to end this regime. And my argument is that's silly talk. That's childlike pablum. It's not legit. It's not real. It's like that woman on the plane. That Mother Blanken argument is not real. We have long had the argument That's my point. The Israelis forced us to do this. The Israelis couldn't force us to the freaking bathroom. Good Lord. It's just a hateful argument. And it has no place. And the people who want to engage it are silly. Silly. Oh, he did this to avoid the Epstein files. I'm still talking about the Epstein files. It's just an ignorant argument as I see it. And it's Tucker's, and it's Candace's, and it's Megan's, and it's, who is the other guy? Oh, Gavin Newsom. Those four deserve each other.
About a week ago, I attended President Clinton's deposition in New York last Friday. This deposition raised even more questions about President Trump's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Let me explain why.
Yes, explain
First
why,
off,
Representative Frost, when he said quite clearly, I never saw Trump associate with any of this. I never saw Trump connected in any way, shape, or form. He literally said the words in between looking at old photos of himself with some of these young women and smiling like a freak. Tony Katz today. The left can't stop. As I have said before, running on Epstein is part of their plan to win the midterms. No policy conversation. They're running on Epstein. 10,000%. Do we have to listen to this guy? Do we have to? We don't have to. We don't have to. For the record, release everything. If not everything is released, release everything. Arrest anybody involved with the abuse of children. The end. I mean, I've been singing the same tune now for how many years on this subject? Same exact conversation. Release everything. I haven't changed a bit. I blame Bill Barr for Jeffrey Epstein's death. You didn't have 12 guards. You didn't have 14 cameras. William Barr was the attorney general at the time. I blame him. So silly. Started a war because of Epstein files. We're still here, still talking about the Epstein files. I guess that didn't work. Bill Clinton is the one who bombed an aspirin factory to get you to not think about Monica Lewinsky. We're still talking about Monica Lewinsky. It doesn't work. But bombing an aspirin factory doesn't do anything. Killing the Ayatollah and destroying the regime saves countless lives and frees millions of people in Iran from an Islamist despot, no good bastard. So what are we discussing? I didn't mean to get back into it. I've got plenty of other things to talk about. Dr. Matt Will going to join us next. What do these latest numbers tell us? Oh, I'm not talking about Wall Street. I'm talking about indicators. And will this war change supply chains and make life more difficult? I've got that coming up. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. So I will tell you that one of the things that is going on with me, I am now finding it very, very difficult to not start calling people bitch every 4 seconds. I admit it's a real issue. And it's so no way to do radio. It's not good content. It's awful. I am a believer that part of what makes a good host, and I live by this, is that my disgust about something does not overwhelm your disgust about something. And a matter of fact, I would argue your disgust is greater than mine. And one of the advantages I have is this show. I get to vent it out every day. You guys know I do 2 shows a day, right? I do 6 hours of radio a day. I get to vent it all out. And very often you're at work dealing with nonsense HR, you're in the car, you've got other things going on in your life, you don't get to vent it out. And part of the connection is that sometimes I get, because of this gig, the opportunity to say something you would love to say, but you don't get a chance to say. And so what I think is necessary is remembering that I am in such a fortunate position with what I get to do. I refuse to be a guy who's angrier than you are about the thing. As a matter of fact, I want to help people through that. And here's something to think about. And here's a way to position it. And here's a thought about it. And you take for that what you will, and you agree or disagree, and you get to be in that part of it, but never once angrier than you. That, because I think that that's a huge mistake. And I do think that there are hosts out there online and on radio who make that mistake constantly. And some of them get popularity out of it. I've never quite understood it, but neither here nor there. Lately, I'm just sick. It's not the old sick to my stomach thing. I'm just sick and tired of the stupid. And the Tucker, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens ridiculousness. This is not cute. This is just dumb. This Dave Smith stupidity. The IDF is the biggest terrorist organization. It's just dumb. It's just hateful garbage. And I'm not interested in being nice. It's scumbaggery from a scumbag. We're not talking about a disagreement on policy here. We're talking about just a fundamental grossness. Why shouldn't I say so? And I do find myself disgusted by it. I think I find myself more disgusted that more people are willing to buy into that. This Israel Jew rage that they've got. It's madness. Madness. It's gross. And then, of course, the people who want to claim that I've got dual loyalty because I'm Jewish, it's just so, and it's frustrating sometimes. And you just want to, there are things people need to be told, and that should happen nose to nose. And it's not, I know in the end, it's not worth it. You got to engage the conversation properly and accurately. You got to help people get facts, data, thoughts, ideas, philosophies that help them make good decisions. And so I remind myself of that, but sometimes. Whoo. Meanwhile, let's get to Dr. Matt Will, shall we? Yes, let's. Has an effect on the economy. We'd be fools if we said otherwise. Tony Katz today. Good to be here. Good to be with you. And we're seeing a lot of economic indicators that are coming out, but some of these things are trailing indicators. Means it happened a month ago or 2 months ago or 3 months ago. It has nothing to do with what's happening with dropping bombs on Tehran right now. And again, full disclosure, in case you needed it, I'm totally fine with taking out the Ayatollah, and I'm okay with the ripples that take place for keeping Americans safe long-term if the regime is completely annihilated and destroyed. But there have been some good data points, very helpful data points to a guy running for re-election. No, not Trump. Republicans running for re-election, and Trump trying very hard not to be impeached for a third time. Dr. Matt Will joins me right now, economist at the University of Indianapolis. Sir, there's a host of things that are happening, and I want to get into it, especially with this whole Ratepayer Protection pledge, which you are very excited about, how manufacturing is ticking up for the second month in a row. But let's start with wars and the economy. One can argue that historically war has been very good for the economy. I don't think we look at what's happening with Iran in that same kind of way. Talk to me about what it is you think America should expect or other nations should expect. And is this a 1 month? Is this a 6 months? Does it depend on how long the bombing goes on? What say you?
It's interesting because wars are not positive for the economy. What they do is they shift the economy. So Trump deserves a lot of credit for actually doing something that will cause some harm to the economy and thus may potentially hurt him in the midterms. Because what you do is you shift your manufacturing. So you go away from, it's like guns versus butter. You go away from the butter back into the guns. So right now, in fact, today, they're meeting with people in the defense industry. They're encouraging them to do more munitions production because that's going to be the big issue, expanding their production facilities in order to produce more product. They've got to change their distribution and logistics on how they distribute all these munitions and materials for the war effort. And so that takes away from your private economy. It happens. We saw it during COVID when we started taking GM to make masks and ventilators. So it's not positive for the economy. It shifts it. And Trump deserves credit for biting the bullet and making a tough decision that's not going to be the best economic decision.
And I do agree with that wholeheartedly. The thing that we're hearing most about is supply line issues. If you're getting pharmaceuticals from India, if you're getting other products from Southeast Asia, if you're getting materials like fertilizers from the Middle East, you now have issues with the Straits of Hormuz, with ships and how they're going to travel and avoiding certain areas that create supply line issues. Is this already being seen? Is this something that we should expect to see in the markets and in our pocketbooks in the months ahead, or can this be easily stabilized?
It'll be easily stabilized as we get the shipping lanes under control, because some of the ships have already been diverted down through South Africa. That's a much longer route, but it's going to be more, it's going to get the goods there. So it causes just a delay. We are very efficient in adapting our supply chains to the current environment. And I got to tell you, long-term, this is also good because it's going to create more safety. That ship that was sunk in the Indian Ocean, have an Iranian ship out there trying to disrupt things is not good. You need escorts to take your ships through these various lanes. Well, that ship is now gone. So again, it's a short-term pain for long-term gain. And I think Trump is doing the right thing because it's going to long-term protect shipping lanes, distribution channels. The supply chain will be safer. But in the short term, there will be disruption. That is absolutely happening.
Is the market, as you're seeing it, right? Sometimes it was down 1,200, but it only closed 400 down. Then it was up the next day, and then as I last checked at midday today, it was like down 600, and that could be more at this stage. Who knows where it's going to end? Is the market trying to figure out how to bake this in, how to figure out where it's at, or is this level of gesticulation based on something else?
It is. The market is trying to bake in everything. We haven't talked about yet productivity and, the Ratepayer Protection Pledge, the data centers and the war and the distribution channels. The market is just having a challenge right now, getting all this information and putting it into the prices, but it's trying very hard.
Well, let's get more into it because you're making the argument that it's not just war related. Talking to Dr. Matt Will, economist at the University of Indianapolis, data centers and this ratepayer protection pledge that the president spoke about in the State of the Union, and you saw him signing this executive order yesterday, which has you all sorts of happy. This is a giddy. This is not a Dr. Doom, Matt Will. This is a Dr. Giddy, Matt Will. What is it that you saw on data centers and on this Trump pledge?
Well, I think I was the only person in the world that stood up on that particular line when he talked about, data centers and making their own energy. I think everybody else was sitting at that moment. I love this because the problem we're having with data centers is local utilities have a monopoly on selling energy. If you're a data center in your city, you can't produce your own energy. You have an agreement with the local utility that bans you from doing that. And so this ratepayer protection pledge, which, by the way, that's the marquee, that's the PR, but the thing behind it is it allows the data centers to make their own energy. And after they make their own energy, they can then sell it back to the local utility. This is revolutionary because we're going to have a 300% to 400% increase in demand for electricity. And there is no way the grid can handle it. There's no way the local utilities can handle it. In fact, BlackRock was so excited about the demand, they bought a company called AES. But let me tell you, BlackRock is no, quiet person in the corner. They go after aggressive returns because they thought they could squeeze, the industry for more money. And Trump just put the brakes on that a little bit.
Well, the AES story is big where you and I live in Indianapolis, because that is the power company here, which used to be known as Indianapolis Power and Light. And there's a real question about, are the Qataris involved in this? Is CalPERS, which is the California pension system, involved in this? Maybe you don't want these groups having any connection. California pension system for their just incredible levels of failures and problems, and Qatar because I don't want foreign nations connected to the power grid. But this is really about the concept of SMRs, small modular reactors. This is about the fact that data centers are here. Now, cities and states can ask whether or not they want to be data center city or states, but they're coming. And they take power and they take water. And the SMR, the small modular reactor, is about this ability to create power on a small level, its own generation. And I believe, and I've talked about how they should give it back to the city, and that's the incentive that states should demand in order to bring in the data center. Did this come because cities and towns have been pushing back against them? Did this come because it's the smarter play, because the data center is a better investment overall? What I didn't even know there would be an issue with the power going back to a city or a town. So what is the real impetus here for bringing this protection pledge about?
I'm a conservative. I'm not a populist, but it was populism that caused this, because Trump saw, and we've seen in the area that we live, utility rates doubling, that individuals' utility bills are soaring. And this is an attempt to address that problem, because the utility company loves that there's a demand. They love that there's a shortage. This is how they make money. The utility company is guaranteed a profit. It's actually about 9.5%. So if they have $100 of cost, they're allowed to charge $109. Well, guess what? They want more cost. They want the cost to go up, because if their costs go up to $200, they can then charge $218. That's doubling their profits. So the local energy companies love this. That's why BlackRock is in this market now. That's why the Qataris want to buy our energy, and CalPERS. They know that their demand is huge. So what did Trump do? Trump says, no, I'm going to try to prevent it. So let me say, everything Trump did on this, his promise in the State of the Union, trying to, control what BlackRock is doing, the fix that he put in place yesterday, these are phenomenal, but he's going to have a problem. The utilities are going to fight back, and they're going to fight back hard, because this was an executive order. It wasn't a law. And I can tell you, BlackRock spends a lot of money on congressmen.
Yes, and I don't say no to that. But BlackRock is going to lose when Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren rally the Democrats to be in favor of these kinds of things. And that's the part that gives me a lot of pause in that I don't know if I want to be, from a populist look, telling people what they can or cannot make. I do believe you could say certain nations can't be involved in businesses in the United States. You can't own any utility. You cannot own land near military bases. I wouldn't allow the communist Chinese to own anything in the United States. I believe that as a national security conversation can be engaged. But if we're saying that this is populism and not conservatism, I go back and look at this and say, this is the kind of price fixing that an Elizabeth Warren and a Bernie Sanders are going to love. Don't ask me to love that.
It's not price fixing. It's the opposite. What Trump is trying to do is stop the price fixing, because right now the utility companies are allowed to fix prices. They have a monopoly. The only reason Bernie and Warren are on board here is because they just hate anything business. So they hate BlackRock. They hate the utility companies. I don't hate either one of them. I can tell you, I personally have investments through BlackRock. I'm not against BlackRock. What I am in favor of is more competition, taking the handcuffs off the local data center and saying you can produce your own energy. That's not government controlling prices. That's more free market. That's more capitalism. Huge fan. Let them produce their own energy. Stop these regulations that ban them from producing their own energy. And that's what Trump is doing. I don't know that those two folks are going to be on board, though. Remember, it's Trump's idea. So if it's Trump's idea, they may be totally against it.
It'd be interesting to see them say we're opposed to lower energy rates when they complain about energy rates. But if it plays out as you're discussing it, and it is a capitalist response, they'll absolutely be opposed to it. Talking to Dr. Matt Will, economist at the University of Indianapolis. You brought up productivity a couple of times. Productivity is up. You're a happy man.
Oh my gosh. This is where Trump needs to go get a megaphone, which I know he has plenty of those, and he should brag about this. So it was up 2.8 last quarter. Now you're thinking, oh, okay, that's good. That's not great. That's despite the government shutdown. This is a government shutdown impacted number. And we always ignore the revisions. Let's not. The third quarter revision productivity was up 5.2%. Q2 up 4.2. Tony, I look back in history. I couldn't find 5.2 increase percent in productivity going back 50 years. The productivity is up because Trump is hitting on all cylinders on deregulation, on taxes, on the one big beautiful bill. He's doing everything. Again, it's like this, it's like this energy deal. It's not hot and sexy. It's not making headlines, but man, is it helping the economy.
And with that productivity, you see manufacturing is up as well for the second month in a row.
Wow. Okay. You know me, I've been talking, everyone says, oh, doom and gloom, Dr. Will, doom and gloom. Yeah, because our manufacturing base has been shrinking since the Liberation Day in April. Not the last 2 months. I'm so happy. Remember, we talked about this last month. Is it a trend? It's a trend. We got 2 months, and this wasn't a small increase. Manufacturing in the United States expanded at a 4.8% rate last month. Wow, this is good news. So the manufacturing is back. I was so nervous because we had a multi-year decline in manufacturing, and now we're back. Good for the economy, good for Trump and the things he's done to help that happen.
And you don't think what we're engaged in right now in Iran takes away from that? Do you think that these things can still climb, even if it does take this 5 weeks plus that the president has indicated?
It will cause a decline. Not decline. It's going to cause a slowdown. Think of it as a tap on the brakes instead of stopping the car. It is definitely going to be a tap on the brakes. We're definitely going to see some economic pullback from this, but I don't think it's going to counterbalance all this positive energy that's happening.
Dr. Matt Will, economist at the University of Indianapolis. I appreciate you taking the time to be with us. More to get to. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. There we go. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Guys, good to be here. Good to be with you. I was just responding. Hold on. Ah, there we go. There we go. So that's Dr. Will actually feeling good. I don't ever think he's doom and gloom. Some people are like, oh, he's doom and gloom all the time. He's always unhappy and angry about Trump. I'm like, I do not see it that way. I never have. The House Republicans are set to have a news conference. Are we going to follow this? It's Lisa McClain. I couldn't remember her name yesterday. Conference chair of the House. That could have been Elise Stefanik, but she got screwed. And oh, did she get screwed with her pants on? By the way, the markets are now down 900. And tomorrow it'll be different. Is what is. Is what is right now. They are trying to figure it out. I am gonna get into this thing about Newsom, and it'll bring up that conversation we were having earlier. I want to discuss that, and I am gonna get into in the next hour this leftist weakness, silliness, this woke right silliness about you're gonna send somebody else's kid to fight. This weakness about understanding what it is we're doing, what war is. It is weakness, and I, for one, am not gonna. I don't think you run a country that way. And then the follow-up is, I don't get told I can't have conversations because I didn't serve. I don't pay any attention to those people. It aggressively needs to be pushed aside. So I will get into that. DJ Moore is going to be a Buffalo Bill? Dude. Sean McDermott hurt worst. That's brutal. So the latest on James Tallarico, I mean, the opposition research hit hard in the last 24 hours. He is the Democrat who is going to be the Senate candidate in Texas, Tony Katz. Tony Katz today, good to be with you. And he's the guy who Stephen Colbert colluded with to keep a black woman from being on television to make her case to the people of Texas to win a primary. That was Jasmine Crockett. Oh, that's what happened. Hey, listen, it's not my fault that's Stephen Colbert's a bigot. He's the one who colluded. Oh, we're going to Tallarico on, but we're told we have to have equal time, so we'll only play his interview online, and we won't play it on air, and then we'll blame Trump when it's not Trump's fault. And sorry, that's an in-kind contribution. But the social media posts of Tallarico are coming out where he's all about how his white skin gives him immunity from the virus of racism. And oh yeah, you know, the trans community, they need abortion rights too. Oh, there's so much. And yes, he's going to get positioned like they did with Abigail Spanberger, the gubernatorial candidate in Virginia, as a moderate. There's nothing moderate about the guy. And they're coming out early. Doesn't matter whether it's Cornyn or Paxton, and we'll get into it. I'm still a believer that Cornyn has a better chance to win a general election than Paxton. Paxton has more baggage. I'm not an anti-Paxton guy in that regard. I'm saying that Cornyn has less baggage. It's an easier victory. But they're not even waiting for the Republicans for who the nominee is. They are just coming directly at Tallarico. And I think it's going to go on for a while. This is Tony Katz today. So here's where we are. Here is what we've got. The radio show is in commercial break. So we will be in a commercial break. By the way, if you told me he's farther left than Crockett, I don't know if that's true. I would say he's equally as far left as Crockett. I mean, we agree there in that he is a true lefty. And he's trying to position himself as what he's not. So I will have more on that, and then more on this wimp class. Oh, I'm going to get yelled at for it in all sorts of ways. Whatever. It doesn't bother me at all or in any way. The truth will get told, and it will be told right. It will be televised. Guys, hang loose. Smoke them if you got them. We're going to be back in a little bit. Glad you're here. Keep it here. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Look at this. Republicans have gathered to have a little talk. We're talking about DHS funding right over there. I want to grab a little bit of that because we still don't have it funded. Democrats still don't care who gets harmed, who gets hurt. They don't care at all. That much is obvious. And I think that Republicans are making a mistake if they are not hitting this subject every single day. Let's see what we've got right here. That is not it. There it is. House Republicans decided to have themselves a little bit of a presser today. They're talking about Homeland Security. And we forget that it's still not funded by the Democrats. This is still going on.
Thank you for coming. Let me start by being very, very clear. The Iranian regime is not a partner for peace. It is a regime that won't hesitate to kill our troops, our diplomats, or our citizens if given the chance. This is the same regime that has already murdered hundreds of Americans. The same regime that chants death to America actually in their streets. And the same regime that races to develop a nuclear weapon capable of killing thousands more. And you know what? When this regime threatens death to America, I actually believe them. I take them at their word. And I take those threats very, very seriously. And you know what? The American people do too.
I would hope they do. But there seems to be a lot of people who don't care about these threats at all. Tony Katz today, if I didn't say hello. That's Lisa McClain. She is the Republican conference chair. They have this presser on funding the Department of Homeland Security. And I think it is important that Republicans keep on this and keep reminding people that America is more at threat because Democrats are more interested in politics than they are in policy. That's clear. But yesterday, I saw two things that struck me, which is weird. There comes a moment, I think, for all of us where we're a little jaded about the progressive, and like there's nothing left that can shock us. Right? How possibly can you be shocked by these people anymore? In actions and reactions, right? We're not talking about disagreements in policy. We're talking about madness. And so the first thing I saw, and it's not that it was the first. It's not that this was chronological. It's the first thing that I saw was a post from this leftist who goes by the name of JoJo in Jersey. I guess she's from New Jersey. And okay, I don't know what makes her famous. I have no idea. I have no idea why she is considered a celebrity amongst the left at all. She has 1 million followers. And she had posted this very weird statement. Very, very strange statement. And she refers herself as a mom, Jersey, Democrat, news junkie, Lebanese, hothead, views are my own. Oh, okay. Hothead. Sure. And it read, "We just blew up an Iranian ship in international waters and left all of the survivors to drown. This is who we are now." And I thought that was quite literally the craziest thing I had ever seen. Because I had responded to that by asking, I think, a very, very simple and easy to understand question. Do these people not understand how wars work? Are all leftists new to war? Yes. We had a submarine shoot down the latest top-of-the-line Iranian warship because the Iranian warship needed to go. We're in a fight with the Iranians. They're terrorists. They're going to engage in more terrorist activities. If they have ships out there in international water, it's to threaten other ships that are out there, disable shipping lanes, damage others take over their ships and they have to go. It's us or them, and I choose us every day of the week and twice on Sunday. This lefty is amazed. We just blew up an Iranian ship in international waters and left all the survivors to drown. This is who we are now. Who we are now? Did you never read a book about World War II? Do you think we stopped to really save everybody we hit in a U-boat on any German ship anywhere on land? What the hell is going on here? And I said, that's the weirdest thing I have heard. But then I saw what you saw. This Marine who decides to interrupt a Senate subcommittee hearing. His name is Brian McGinnis. And Brian McGinnis, it turns out, is running for office. He's running for Senate. I think he's running in the Carolinas as a third-party candidate. And he is in his dress blues. And he is disrupting the door. So the door has multiple ways to exit out, like 3 different doors, and it's got the posts in the middle. And he is fighting the cops as he's being taken out. And he puts his hand in one onto one of the posts, and so one of the doors closes on his hand. Closes on his hand. So what happens is that what you see is that here are these cops trying to drag him through, thinking he's holding on, and his hand is stuck. He was holding on, but then his hand gets stuck. And all of a sudden you hear somebody screaming. I'm not playing you the audio because I didn't get to check if there was any cursing or anything else. I mean, this guy is screaming like a freak. Someone starts yelling, his hand stuck. You broke his hand. And I said to myself, this is what they're focused on. This is the focus. The focus is that this guy maybe broke his hand or broke his arm. His arm is stuck because he put it in a place to be stuck. Because he is yelling and screaming. And I realized that the left does not seem to understand what is happening around them. They certainly don't understand what a war is. They don't understand what a conflict is. They don't understand what it is to win. And they refuse to accept the idea that the person who acts improperly, engages improperly, might end up getting hurt. Let's apply this to something that we have discussed on the regular. If you are one of these absolutely ridiculous protesters who blocks traffic, what have we said? Time and time and time again, you should expect to get run over. And when they do, they act shocked. How dare you? How have we described it here? We've said this is an abuse of the social contract. The left believes that you have to engage and support the social contract at all times, and they can do anything they want. So when they block traffic, you're not allowed to run them over or hit them with your car or nudge them out of the way. You have to stop. You have to wait for the police to arrive. Then you have to uncuff them or undo this. And you have to treat them humanely, or you have to give them water. Somehow, when they glue themselves to the roadway, you have to come out with a jackhammer and help them safely get to the other side of the street and then give them medical care. When they destroy artwork and glue themselves to the walls of museums, you have to shut down the museum and you have to make sure that they're okay and make sure they're well fed. I don't buy into anything of that. I don't buy into any part of that. You glue yourself to an art installation. You're now part of the art installation. We build a cage around you with a mirror, with a window in it, and people can slowly watch you die. Because if you glue yourself to a wall, I am not somehow forced to unglue you. That's your problem. You block traffic, you should expect that you're going to get run over. You keep an ambulance from getting to my sick kid, you should expect worse. You telling me that we have engaged in a war action against Iran and the left is amazed that we actually killed Iranian soldiers? It's insane. These people aren't prepared for a fight. They think the job of the military is just to sit there and look good. I don't think you should send the military here, there, and everywhere, and I don't think you should send them for lighter transient causes. I think when you send them, your job is to kill the enemy until the enemy is dead, and that is every member of the enemy. And this is where we get into the absolute stupidity of, oh, you're fine with sending somebody else's kid. You're always sending somebody else's kid. I don't want to hear it again. Yeah, we're going to send somebody else's kid, and that kid might die. We better train our people to be the very best. We better fight to the very best of our ability, and we better come with overwhelming force so we limit, if not eliminate, our possibility of casualties. But we can't let them keep being terrorists. What are we, insane? The answer is the left is insane. They wouldn't fight if their lives depended on it. It's weak, cowardly nonsense. Yes, we're going to blow up Iranian ships and they're going to die. They shouldn't have been terrorists. It's us or them, and I choose us. This guy, this ex-Marine, do you say former Marine? I don't care at this moment. Thinks he can disrupt a meeting. He is the ones trying to stop himself from being carried out, therefore leads to his own arm being injured to the extent it was injured, damage, etc. And I'm supposed to feel bad for him? That's the problem? The problem is he's disrupting the meeting. And he's screaming, no wars for Israel. I'm not fighting for Israel. We're fighting for us. If you think we're fighting for Israel, you're listening to the dumbest people on the planet. I don't feel bad for these people. I don't feel bad for this Marine. You disrupted a meeting, you got carried out, and you fought that. Well, bad things happen to you. Life's tough in the NBA. Renee Good didn't listen to police. I still want it investigated, but she's the one who blocked traffic. She's the one who sat in her car. She's the one who backed up, and she's the one who hit a cop. She is culpable in her own death. Could we all just grow up? And the answer for the left is no, they can't. They think they can good feelings their way to success. These are unserious people who can't win a war. These are unserious people who can't keep a country safe. These are unserious people you cannot vote for. They're unserious people who are not focused on the action. They're only focused on what you do wrong, so then they can complain, so they can feel self-righteous. Their self-righteousness is going to get you killed and get your kids killed. Dear Lord, stop voting for these people. But the left is not the only problem. Let's get into the woke right. That's coming up. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Guys, a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here. All right. So yeah, I have no place in me for Tucker and Candace and Megyn Kelly and this latest from Gavin Newsom, the scumbaggery. And so let it just let it out, say the words, and if people want to still be a part of it, that's fine. That is fine. All right, let us get into it. By the way, the op-ed stuff, the opposition research that's coming out about Tallarico. Oh, so good. His own words, just crazy, crazy cuckoo. All right, let's come back and do the thing. So Gavin Newsom took to a podcast hosted by Obama bro John Favreau, where he's asked, do you think looking down the road that the United States should consider maybe, rethinking our military support for Israel? And Gavin Newsom responds, it breaks my heart because the current leadership in Israel is walking us down that path where I don't think you have a choice about that consideration. Gavin Newsom referring to Israel as an apartheid state, buying in to the nonsense Jew hatred and bigotry that we have seen all over the place. Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly. Listen, you can follow these people if you choose. I'm not going to tell you how to live. But if you think that somehow I am not going to recognize that this is scumbaggery of the highest level, I'm sorry. It's scumbaggery of the highest level. It's just stupid. And I wish, and I'm a guy who talks for a living, I wish I had a better way to share with you my absolute disgust with these arguments and with this stupidity. I wish I had a better way to get people to understand that the argument being made isn't one of rationality. This, I brought it up earlier, Trump is being dragged into war. It's just silly. The argument that somehow the Iranian regime should continue to be the Iranian regime and we should do nothing when we're the ones attacked is a dumb argument. And the argument of, well, Israel's dragging us into this is bigotry. It is what it is. Now, some people ask me, does that mean you can't criticize Israel? Criticize Israel all you want. Israel dragged us into the war is just a stupid argument. That's all. Israel's its own weirdo country, man. This is a country without a constitution. This is a country that has a Supreme Court that can make decisions based on reasonableness. How in the world do you run a country like this? It's crazy. Crazy. But in every aspect of them dealing with, for example, Hamas, screaming genocide is stupid. They started the war, did Hamas, and Israel finished it. End of discussion. If you think that somehow they should apologize for their response to the murder of 1,200 people, it's just too weird for words. It's double standard garbage. No one should pay attention to you. Dave Smith is wrong. Tucker's wrong. Candace is wrong. Megan's wrong. They're all wrong. Everyone's better off when Hamas is gone. And everyone forgets that Palestinians participated in the murder of the 1,200. These things happen. A response is going to come. They're amazed by the response. Hamas is supported and funded by the Iranian regime. They have to go. And yet you have these people who want to say Israel shouldn't do this and Israel shouldn't do that. Israel's always the problem. You think it's Jews obsessed with Israel? It's these people obsessed with Israel. These freaks. And they don't even have a good argument. They don't have a good argument. If Netanyahu wasn't the prime minister, by the way, I'm amazed he's still the prime minister. I know Trump wants him pardoned, but that's internal politics with some ethics charges. And I always figured they would come one way or another. I don't know what the Israelis are going to do. But even if Netanyahu wasn't the prime minister, the opposition party, Lapid, I think that's his name. He was in favor of taking out the Iranian government because they are a threat. And if the answer to a clear and obvious threat is, well, you know, what Israel's doing is wrong, and then it's internalized freakhood. And Tucker and Candace and Megan are freaks. Don't ask me to follow them. Don't ask me to like them. Don't ask me to support them. I'm out. You could do what you will. These people are just wrong. I'm Tony Katz. Just wanted it on the record. Nothing more, nothing less. Yes, a scumbaggery. I can't be the only one who uses that word, but I do use that word. Richard, thank you, man. I appreciate that you like it. Agree or disagree, I appreciate that you like it. I'm glad that you're here. Thank you. Tallarico, they're really going to position him as a moderate running for Senate, a Democrat in Texas. They're really going to try and push him as a moderate, and that dog won't hunt. He has got to be exposed for what he is. And yes, you give the Iranians $6 billion, you're going to have yourself a whole bunch of problems. A tremendous amount of problems. That's absolutely true. I have got 3 more things for you. Let me put that together right here. And boom, boom. And I've got that. This. And wait, hold on. No, I don't need that. Don't need that. Let me see what's happening here. Uh-oh. The Chinese are angry. Dun, dun, dun. Don't care at all. And what else do I have? Oh, yes, the 9-0 SCOTUS decision. That's right. 9-0. And you're like, does that mean Ketanji Brown Jackson voted in favor of Trump? She sure did. She sure did. And then we have this. I've got more than 3 things. And then, yeah, the tariffs. How are they getting paid back? Because there are courts being like, just start writing checks. And the administration is like, I don't even know how we do that. Well, you better figure it out. Not right soon. All right. So what else do we got, guys? And then I have so much. I have so much stuff. Go. All right. Okay. All right. What else is going on? What else do we know? I've noticed that the chat is very quiet of trolls today. Well done. Well done. Ah, the trolls. Precious little people. And there it is. West Texas crude at 80, sending the markets down 1,000. That is a thing. That is a thing. Coming back in a little bit. Putin said if European nations gets involved, he's going to cut off energy. Just so you know where these people are. Three more things to get to, Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Guys, we're live streaming on the YouTube. Check it out for yourself. Just look for Tony Katz and subscribe. Find everything at tonykatz.com. Right now, the Dow is down over 1,000. NASDAQ is down 287, and oil hit $80 a barrel. $80.16 on the West Texas crude, $85.15 on the Brent crude. But that's how it is as of 1:30ish or so Eastern time. Where it ends, that's a great question. And then tomorrow we could see it. We could see the markets up or taking back some of these losses. Oil prices down $5-6 a barrel, as that's what happened just 2 days ago. There's going to be a bit of this for sure. Then you have the Chinese foreign minister is now sending a special envoy. A special envoy is going to the Middle East, saying you have to end the attacks on Iran because we can't get our oil, and it makes us very, very sad. Told his Saudi Arabian counterpart that China appreciates Saudi Arabia's insistence of resolving disputes through peaceful means. Stop it. Saudi Arabia is overjoyed by what's taking place. The foreign minister is telling the Israeli foreign minister that China opposes the U.S. and Israel military action and that it must be halted immediately. Force cannot truly solve problems. Instead, it often creates new ones and leaves serious long-term consequences. The real value of military power lies not on the battlefield, but in preventing war. We go now to Taiwan for a response. These people are so full of crap. Then, and I saw some people mentioning in the chat room, this is massive. This is big. Now, I have a discussion coming up with Ed Morrissey that I had earlier. So this was new information because I see Cornyn as a better opportunity to win in a general election than Paxton. And Paxton has some serious baggage. It's not that I have issue with his politics. Ken Paxton is the attorney general who left that position to run for Senate. Now he's in a runoff with John Cornyn. President Trump has come out to say, I'm going to endorse, but what I want is for the person I endorse to be the nominee, and I want the other person to drop out of the race. Now you have to ask yourself whether or not this is Ken Paxton knowing the writing on the wall. Ken Paxton puts out a message. The message reads, the Save America Act is the most important bill the U.S. Senate could ever pass, and I'm committed to helping President Trump get it done. The Save America Act, the SAVE Act, voter ID. Oh my gosh, women and black people won't be able to get IDs because they're not smart enough, says the American left. They've actually said this. It's crazy talk. Paxton writes, I would consider dropping out of this race if Senate leadership agrees to lift the filibuster and passes the SAVE Act. John Cornyn is a coward who has refused to support abolishing the filibuster to pass this bill. Now, fake news reporters and the establishment are trying to destroy me with misinformation. The truth, writes Ken Paxton, is clear. No one has been more loyal to Donald Trump than me. Fighting the stolen 2020 election, being in Mar-a-Lago when he announced his 2024 campaign, standing with him in New York in the face of lawfare. For the good of our country and for the good of passing President Trump's agenda, I am determined to help him get this done. Oh, well, this is something. That message does not go out because he is just so altruistic, does it? It doesn't go out. No. It does not happen that way. It happens because word got out, because somebody whispered to somebody and somebody had a drink with somebody and someone said, hey, Ken, listen, I don't want to, Ken, I don't want to speak out of school, right? I can't tell you how I know what I know, but you know that I know people, and Ken, nah. What do you mean now? Kenny, Special K. Nah. Somehow that message got through. You don't get this post without that message. I have no idea what he's going to do. None. Absolutely no idea what's going to happen. Then you have the Supreme Court, where you now have a ruling, unanimous, 9-0 ruling, ordering the federal appeals courts to defer to immigration judges when reviewing asylum decisions. Which means these activist judges can't just say, no, you can't deport him, I'll decide. You can't deport him. Like some district court judge has some say in immigration policy. District court judges have no say in immigration policy. The agency determination is generally conclusive unless any reasonable adjudicator would be compelled to conclude to the contrary. That is part of the decision. Immigration judges, employees of the DOJ, vet the claims of those who are claiming asylum and determine whether to grant migrants asylum, which would allow them to stay in the country. Migrants can appeal the decision to the Board of Immigration Appeals, which is housed within the executive branch. Then they can appeal to federal circuit courts in the Supreme Court. These judges are acting too fast. They're not allowing the system to take full effect. There is a system, and that's the way it is. Who wrote this opinion, this 9-0 opinion? Ketanji Brown Jackson. Wow. That's incredible. Which tells you that there was no maneuverability. There is a system in place, and these activist judges are stepping over the line. I would assume that there is a good number of judges, not Brown Jackson, but there is a good number of judges, 8 of the 9, who may have explained to her this is the way it has to be, that are exhausted by the stepping over, the overstepping by the courts, the lower courts on these things. Because now it comes to them and they've got to deal with it. They've got enough on their docket. They don't need any more. I make the assumption that the Supreme Court is very, very pleased to say to the lower courts, could you stop being so damn uppity? Could you just stop being so ridiculous? You're a district court judge. This is immigration policy, which is the purview of the executive branch. There is no debate on this. Would you, pretty please, with sugar on top, stop being crazy people? Just stop being ridiculous. That's all we ask. Stop being nut bars. Then you realize that Cuba is in a blackout. You have Cuba, where the pressure has been aggressive. They haven't been able to get their oil because Venezuela is not going to send them the oil because the United States is running things. They don't have the energy, and now they're seeing blackouts. All of this goes back to President Trump and this unbelievable statement that took place in the chopper presser. He's there. He's getting ready to get on Air Force One or Marine One to get on Air Force One. And it's the most insane line I have ever heard at any time from any president ever.
They're in a big scale of trouble, as you know. They have no money, they have no anything right now, but they're talking with us, and maybe we'll have a friendly takeover of Cuba. We could very well end up having a friendly takeover of Cuba.
What now? It's the most unbelievable line I have ever heard. Friendly takeover of Cuba. Now, I have, of course, connected the dots, Venezuela, Iran, Cuba, all of these things harming China, thwarting China. That's why China's coming out to say, we shouldn't be engaging with military. We shouldn't be engaging in this level of strength. You keep building a navy, kitten. You go after fishermen. Good Lord, I'm gonna take lessons on decency from the Chi-Coms. No, thank you. But the pressure is clearly on to end the regime in Cuba as well. It's a real rethink of the world. And if you want to believe that Trump is serious about the Monroe Doctrine and control of the Western Hemisphere, well, these communists have got to go. More Trumps, more Malays, less commies. Not Malays. Malay, Argentina, Malay, M-I-L-E-I. That's what I meant. Not Malays like Carter. It's not what I meant. Then there's this. This is a letter. And this letter is about the murder of Stephanie Mittner, a 41-year-old mother in Fredericksburg, Virginia, who was stabbed to death by an illegal immigrant. The letter reads that I wanted to bring the release of this illegal immigrant from prison to your attention. This man, I don't use names, is one of the repeat and violent felony offenders I expressed concern about when we met. He has an extensive criminal history. He has stabbed multiple people, sexually assaulted at least one woman, and committed numerous other criminal offenses. Furthermore, his behavior appears to be escalating and becoming more violent and explosive. I wanted to please get your background on why he is out again so soon and ask if his prior suspended sentence was pursued by your office. Unfortunately, based on Station's numerous dealings with him, again, I want to share my concern that it is not a question of if, but rather when he will maliciously wound or worse again. Unfortunately, my concern came true after you and I last met with his last violent attack. That letter was the Fairfax police warning the attorney of the Commonwealth, Stephen Toscano, in his office about this guy. They released him anyway. This is the blood on the hands of the governor of Virginia, Abigail Spanberger, and the attorney general there, if you will, I should say the Commonwealth attorney, Steve Toscano. They knew he was violent. They let him out, and he murdered again. You can't elect these people. They're out of their heads, and they're dangerous. These people are Democrats. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. All right, guys, this is all happening right now. Christy Noem has been fired. Christy Noem, the Health and Human Services, the Secretary of Homeland Security, has been fired. Markwayne Mullin, the senator from Oklahoma, will be replacing him. This is all happening right now as we speak. This is kind of massive right there. Pretty incredible. This is all happening as we speak. This is not particularly. I should take that back. Everything is surprising, but I think we discussed this on the show earlier this week. If she got replaced, what would it matter? What would it matter? This is something else going on right here. Let me get to this as well. Effective March 31st, Markwayne Mullin. I don't know why it would be Markwayne Mullin, the senator from Oklahoma. I'm not necessarily opposed by any stretch. But there she was at the hearing just yesterday. So this changes many, 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 many things. Many things indeed. All right. I don't know if this now means Trump is going to speak, if we're going to hear from him. Is this going to increase his what's the word I'm looking for? Increased popularity. Democrats are now going to what? Do we now have funding for HHS? That's the question. That is the question. Come back to the show. Christy Noem has been fired, ladies and gentlemen. This is the breaking news across the transom right now. Tony Katz today. You're going to be hearing it all day. Christy Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Security, has been removed by President Trump to be replaced with Senator Markwayne Mullin, the senator from Oklahoma. I'm not quite sure what we see there as what about Markwayne Mullin's past would bring him to this position. We had, of course, Secretary Noem in front of the Senate committee and the House committee over the past couple of days, testifying about ICE and a host of other things. I made the argument that it wouldn't matter to me if she was in charge or not. You could put Tom Homan in there, who clearly has shown himself to be more professional in multiple ways. There are a lot of people you could put in this position and in this place. The left is going to do what now is the question. Let's argue they're going to cheer. They are more than welcome to cheer. Does this mean we now have funding for Homeland Security? Do we now see the Democrats make a move on this? That's the question before us. And I don't have a good answer there. What I know is that this is going to be very shocking to a lot of people. Is this an admission that things went so poorly regarding ICE in Minneapolis that it had to be done in order to secure the midterms? You could argue that this has been in the offing? And as we look at this replacement, Markwayne Mullin, you're replacing a senator. We've got an election to win, but you're in Oklahoma. You have Governor Stitt. That should lead to, well, I'm not familiar with how Oklahoma does this. Do they just do election or appointment? You can feel comfortable that that question was asked and answered. I'm assuming we'll hear from the governor, Governor Kevin Stitt, and his thoughts on this sooner rather than later. I've got more on this. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. All right. So, well, this is going to get interesting. I do not know if there are going to be, I don't know if there's going to be a statement. I don't have anything that shows me that there's going to be a statement from the president or from anybody else on this. But this is a story, kittens. A large-scale story. President Trump firing Christy Noem. That is something else. All right, I'm going to start digging into this. We'll take the break right now. We're gonna stick around a little bit longer. Might not be full hour, but I want to make sure I get all the pieces in there and out there. And I had this conversation with Ed Morrissey queued up to share, but we'll have to postpone that a little bit. So hang loose, smoke them if you got them, and we'll be back in a little bit. There's more show ahead. I'm glad you guys are here. Interesting developments, people. Gotta love that. Be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Christy Noem fired. Damn. All right. Now it is going down. Oh. Christy Noem has been fired. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Good to be here. Good to be with you. 833-468-8669. 833 got Tony. That's how you get to be a part of the show. We're talking about the Secretary of Homeland Security has been let go by President Trump. She is, I believe, speaking right
now. Which is our cybersecurity agency, which goes out and not only hunts down bad actors that would attack us on our cyber systems, but also gives us mitigation measures for how we can harden our systems. Infrastructure such as water and people, and to make sure that we're prepared for any threats that we may face, but also respond to them in a way that honors what our ideals.
Trying to find the right feed here, and it's absolutely killing me. Let me get back to this one. If it would absolutely, it's killing me. It is a shock to many. A shock to many that this has happened. What is it that led to her being let go? What is it that led to the president saying, "Okay, I've had enough of you here"? Well, there is a statement that is out there by President Trump that, of course, announces that Markwayne Mullin will be his pick to lead Homeland Security. I thank Christy for her service at Homeland. The current Secretary, Christy Noem, who has served us well and has had numerous and spectacular results, will be moving to be Special Envoy for the Shield of the Americas, a new security initiative in the Western Hemisphere that we are announcing on Saturday in Doral. So, she's not, wait a second, be perfectly clear, she's out. She's out, and Donald Trump gave her a landing. That tells me a whole bunch, by the way. Starting with, the president didn't actually want to fire her. He didn't want the look. He didn't want to be seen as somebody giving in to these leftists. He didn't want it. The last thing in the world he wanted to do was to give these people, lack of a better word, what it is they wanted. The left is screaming, you have to fire Christy Noem, and he wanted none of it. Absolutely, positively none of it. That's what this tells me. Finding her this new position, this new thing, it'll allow me to take care of her. It'll allow me to still be a friend, and no one will be able to hit me for getting rid of her. No, it's just a change. These lefties have no impact on me whatsoever. That's what it says. Now, as I think it was Bill Malugin noted, there was something of interest about what she stated in her testimony just yesterday. Also, it would seem weird that you would have the testimony yesterday from her and then not... And then fire her today. That would seem to be quite an awkward stance that one would take. You would not make that maneuver.
And then the mayor, we still were.
This is Secretary Noem.
Justice over 2,600 criminals, and in a way that significantly dropped their crime rate and significantly helped those communities continue to take those public safety threats off the streets. We got over 150 different illegal sex offenders off of the street. We saw one of those arrests included a criminal illegal alien from Venezuela that was convicted of aggravated criminal assault and abuse of a child. I'm thankful that that individual is no longer on the streets because of the cooperation of those local law enforcement. We have
She's going to go on and just start touting herself and the accomplishments. We don't need that. We need to ask ourselves whether this has a serious effect on anything. Does this, and the first and foremost, people want to say this is about Trump, and what does it mean for Trump? And oh my gosh, he caved to the. Now you turn to the Democrats. Where's the funding for Homeland Security? Where is the funding for Homeland Security now that this is done? There was talk, and I think it was Bill Melugin who pointed this out, that in her testimony, Noem made reference to being in an ad, and Trump is like, I don't know anything about her ad. She testified in the Senate this week that President Trump approved of and was aware of a $200 million ad campaign that featured her. Trump tells Reuters he didn't sign off on it, quote, I never knew anything about it, unquote. According again to Bill Melugin, Fox News, Senator Kennedy of Louisiana, who had a back and forth with Noem at the hearing this week, said Trump was, quote, mad as a murder hornet. That Noem claimed he approved the $200 million ads contract. Kennedy was offended by the contract amount, called the White House and told them he planned to press her on it at the hearing, and the White House didn't oppose it. Very, very, very often, what you hear and what you see and what is the truth are very different things. Now, you ask me, Tony, are you telling me that Trump is upset that an ad campaign featured her and not him? Because that's how that would get played. I always like to remind people of Congressman Tom Price, who was a congressman from Georgia. He was great. Oh, I used to have Tom Price on the show. I enjoyed that man, doctor by trade. Enjoyed him tremendously. And then in the first term, you forget, he was the Secretary of Health and Human Services. People forget this. And then he started, it was remaking his office, or he was taking flights and bringing family, and Trump wanted none of that, and he was gone. That was the end. That was the end of a guy who was a smart guy, a guy who really could have explained Obamacare and why we need to rip it out by the root. Remember, these were the days we were talking about skinny repeal and all that jazz. He was the guy. But he engaged in a misappropriation of funds, and that was the end of it. $200 million ad campaign? By the way, $200 million? All I know is, do me a favor, Producer Landon, can you check? Can you see if this show got any of that ad money? Because if not, then I'm infuriated. That is the kind of thing, historically, that would drive Trump nuts. Now, some would argue it would drive him nuts that it was focused on her and not him. I think $200 million might drive somebody a little nutty. You're spending this money to enhance your own career. We're not focused on the thing. And by the way, not everything went perfect in Minneapolis. Now, did it? It could have been just a last straw. I don't have to defend this. But what of the new gig? What is it of the new gig that we think is legit or not legit? What do we make of this and this idea of the shield of the Americas? Special envoy for the Shield of the Americas, our new security initiative in the Western Hemisphere, being announced on Saturday in Doral. I don't think that the Shield of the Americas is something that they invented on the fly. I'm willing to bet, while I do not know anything about it, this was something that they were working on. This, again, tying into what we discussed earlier, Trump, the Monroe Doctrine, the Western Hemisphere being the American hemisphere. The Monroe Doctrine was about keeping out European influence, and the Donroe or Trump Doctrine is about keeping out communist, Chinese, Russian influence. That's why you're seeing the pressure on Cuba, and you hear the talk about a friendly takeover. That's all about Russia and China being thwarted from having allies in the hemisphere. That's what it's about. It's a rethink of everything. Iran taking away their ability to have other allies who can give them oil and power. Venezuela giving them oil and a foothold in the Western Hemisphere. Nope, that is not going to be it. You stick where you are. You ain't welcome here. It is possible that there was this thing because of Trump and the Western Hemisphere, the Monroe Doctrine, etc. Whether or not he wanted to put Noem in this position, I don't have an answer. But he could put her in this position for a year and then move her out. And when you see a firing, there's a legitimate question to ask. Who's next? I argued that because of the Epstein files and his testimony in front of Congress, Howard Lutnick would be next. You can't say you kept yourself a distance from Jeffrey Epstein and then say, oh yeah, I was on his island with my family, my wife and my kids having lunch. You made it all so public that you wanted nothing to do with them. Is Kash Patel next? FBI director? Pam Bondi next, which I'm all in favor of. Really disappointed about Pam Bondi. Very disappointed in Pam Bondi. What about Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence? We understand that she has not been really looked to for these things. What is it that she's been working on? The concern about her when she was nominated was whether or not she would provide the president a full security assessment, a full intelligence assessment to be able to make proper decisions. Would her assessments and her presentations limit his ability to know certain things? Would she keep things from him? That was a real concern. But now that you've opened the door, you might make some changes. And I said this about Christy Noem, not bothered by a change. I've said this about Pam Bondi, fine with the change. If you want to change out Kash Patel, I'm cool with it. I am. Sean Duffy remains. Scott Bessent remains. Pete Hegseth remains. Marco Rubio remains. The trade rep, Jameson Greer, remains. Burgum remains. Chris Wright at Energy remains. Doug Collins at VA remains. Changes do get made, and they don't freak me out. The question here is, was this pressure because of what happened in Minneapolis, or was this last straw? I don't know if I care, because I can't say that I'm really moved by the decision. I don't scream and yell about it. As for Mark Wayne Mullen, I have nothing against the man. The guy is a fighter and a half. The guy can get rough and tumble. I don't know what he knows regarding the border. I don't know what other history he has there. He was in the Oklahoma House of Representatives. I know that. We'll see. It could have been home, and it could have been somebody else. Mark Wayne Mullen. And you remember you have a Republican governor in Kevin Stitt, S-T-I-T-T. So I don't know if this is about special election or this is about appointment, but the feeling had to be that you're going to be safe with the number of senators and not losing the seat. That had to have been a consideration. So here's where we're at. Now, I was supposed to share with you an interview I did with Ed Morrissey of hotair.com, where we actually discussed some of the things going on with Texas and a host of other subjects. And he had suggested maybe Ken Paxton could be up for the position. I will get into some of that with you coming up. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. So the plan was I wanted to share this piece with you from Ed Morrissey, but I'm going to save that all for another time. We're going to keep going here. I've got some other clips I want to share. A lot of people with a lot of thoughts right now. Yeah, a lot of people talking about this thing with Christy Noem and John Kennedy being it. It also tells you the levels to which John Kennedy has ability and has credibility. And John Kennedy's great, by the way. Absolutely fantastic. Let's get back to it, shall we? Yes, we shall.
The largest state sponsor of terrorism, Iran and its proxies, have killed more Americans than any other terrorist regime on earth. They are dedicated to it. They have been, and they say the quiet parts out loud. They wanted to wipe Israel off the face of the earth, and they'd like to take us out as well. We're the great Satan in their analogy and their misguided religion, and there was no way to appease them. In defiance of every American president.
By the by, misguided religion. I'm surprised the speaker, Mike Johnson, hasn't gotten more heat for that. Tony Katz, Tony Katz today. Good to be here. Good to be with you. Not religion, political system. Much better, Mr. Speaker. Let's be clear about what it is. So more and more, we're getting the reporting from sources I know, like, and trust, that it may very well have been this exchange that cost Christy Noem her job as the Secretary of Health and Human Services. I'm sorry, I keep saying Health and Human Services, Homeland Security. What's wrong with me? I'm going full Biden. Christy Noem has been moved out. She's going to move to some special envoy position regarding safety and security in the Western Hemisphere. She got a soft landing. Mark Wayne Mullen will now be the new Secretary of Homeland Security. Some people are going to ask, why not Tom Homan? Why not others? But we'll get to that. But wait, what may have very well broken the back and been the end for Trump on dealing with Christy Noem, because he may have already been frustrated regarding Minneapolis, was this back and forth with Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana, who we all adore, and a $200 million contract for advertising that featured Secretary Noem.
You square that concern for waste, which I share, with the fact that you have spent $220 million running television advertisements that feature you prominently.
Sir, the president tasked me with getting the message out to the country and to other countries where we were seeing the invasion come from, with putting commercials out that told them that if they were in this country illegally, that they needed to leave, or we would detain them and remove them, and they'd not get the chance to come back to America the right way. That has been extremely effective.
Ask you to run these advertisements, is that right?
We had that conversation, yes, before I was put in this position and sworn in and confirmed, and since then as well.
Okay. Did you bid out those service contracts?
Yes, they did. They went out to a competitive bid, and career officials at the department chose who would do those advertising commercials.
And the people that you ended up picking were people who had formerly done your political work back in South Dakota. Is that right?
No, that's not correct, sir.
I think it is.
No, it's not, sir. The individuals who, I believe the careers who they chose were two different media firms. There's been conversation about their subcontractors, but we have no legal authority to look into subcontractors.
I would take John Kennedy's word for it. The sources say that John Kennedy called the White House and said, I want you to know, I'm going to press on this. This is coming. And the White House, according to a couple sources now, said, all right. They wanted this. They didn't mind this. They wanted to see how she would react. She's putting it on him. Oh, he agreed with it. I ran it by him. We talked about it. He wanted this. He wanted me to be the star of those commercials. I don't care whether she was the star or not. $200 million seems pretty nuts.
On work like that.
Okay. And you're saying that you're testifying that President Trump approved this ahead of time. Is that my understanding?
We had conversations about making sure that we were telling people.
No, ma'am. I'm asking you, sorry to interrupt, but the president approved ahead of time you spending $220 million running TV ads across the country in which you are featured prominently.
Yes, sir. We went through the legal processes, did it correctly.
Did the president know you were going to do this?
Yes.
Huh. Honestly, that could have been it, but I would argue that's more last straw than anything else. The fact that Kennedy informed the White House and the White House said, go ahead, I think that tells you all you need to know. I'll have more on this tomorrow as we get more data. Keep it here. More show ahead. This is Tony Katz today. Oh, yeah. Okay. I didn't catch that part of the hearing. Sometimes the thing you hear is not about the thing being discussed. Oh, jeepers, oh my. That is something. Indeed. Guys, I appreciate you. I just want to make sure I covered that a little bit. There's more radio show at WIBC.com. You should tune in there. I am back tomorrow at noon Do not forget to subscribe. We'll have more on this, as well as the latest out of Iran. Tomorrow at noon, I know some of you got here late. I'm just glad you're here. You go to YouTube, subscribe there at Tony Katz. Tony Katz on the Twitter X. Tony Katz on Instagram. Tony Katz Radio on Facebook, even though Facebook sucks. And I will catch you tomorrow, guys. I appreciate you like you wouldn't believe. Take care.